For far too long, the effective management of the customer's experience has been considered a soft skill. But today, successful companies recognize that the customer experience is king, or from my perspective, is queen. Welcome to CX Unplugged. I'm Gabrielle Gonzales, your host, and in this series, you will hear from me and other industry experts about how prioritizing the customer experience led to amazing outcomes. Brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of CX Unplugged, brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network. Today, I am really excited to introduce you to my guests who are going to help us really examine and talk a little bit about the millennial and zennial perspectives in customer experience. And what does that look like in general? And what does it look like here in property management? I want to introduce you first to my esteemed guest, Jodi Rogers, who is an executive level boots on the ground leader, coach, and game changer with a proven track record for adding value to an organization's bottom line. He's also currently the director of the Widener Center for Property Management, responsible for recruiting students to the property management major, teaching courses, serving as an internship coordinator, and working hand in hand with the advisory board. Jodi, thank you so much for being here. Yeah. And we've also got a group of his Gen Z students who have expressed interest, obviously, in the property management field. So we're super excited to have all of you guys there. And in proper form, I think they are all super excited. Can I get a heck yeah?
Heck yeah.
All right. Engagement. Love it. So, Jodi, I really appreciate you and all of you students being here today. What we really wanted to examine is sort of like, what is the difference between a Gen X, which is what I am. I'm a Gen X person who has certain customer expectations, customer experience expectations. And I feel like a lot of the leaders in these companies these days are kind of in our space, like they're our age. They're, kind of creating some of these policies, maybe their marketing strategies or, customer journeys and so forth. And I wondered recently in talking with another client of mine, are we missing the mark in doing that? In other words, like are the Gen X expectations of what a customer experience journey should look like? Is that really in line with what today's and tomorrow's next generation of customers are really looking for? Like, is it resonating with them? I don't know. And, obviously I'm thinking of this across really any customer journey, whether it's property management or otherwise, right? It could be any transaction, whether it's, TikTok or Instagram. And I saw a Forbes article that told me that a lot of Gen Z folks are doing most of their retail transactions and so forth via TikTok Shop or other AI generated platforms. And, with that in mind, again, I'm wondering, like, are we in our sort of traditional ways in our industry, are we really like connecting, and are the Gen Z folks seeing our efforts in that customer experience space as authentic and influential or not? So anyway, hopefully we'll get a little insight on that today. In the meantime, Jodi, I'm wondering, like, what resonates with you as you're engaged in the academic setting in really helping to craft the minds of our next generation of property management leaders. What are your thoughts in that space, and what's resonating to you in the customer experience space?
Well, I think one of the first things that we try to accomplish, and you actually have been great about this, kind of carrying the torch. And you spoke to one of my classes last year, first semester, and they were all extremely engaged, but really distinguishing between customer service and the customer experience. And it is totally and completely different. While in property management, because that's who we are. We relationship sell, but there's still an element of transaction to it. And so just recognizing that we've got to spend a lot more time being more authentic in how we approach the customer. One of the things that comes to mind is a traditional sales experience for a general move-in, say a property who's at 95% occupancy and they're showing apartments, and there's someone who is looking at an apartment, and there's a sense of urgency to lease an apartment. They see the model apartment, they might see a vacant, they establish a move-in date, and usually that move-in date is in proximity to where that relationship starts, which is that first visit or that first phone call. And so it is a shorter term experience, if you will. And what I learned with Lease Up, which was my most recent experience before I started teaching as a director of property management, was there's not a product to see. There's not something to show that they are, they buy in immediately. And so you really have to hone in on the customer experience. And so setting up a plan that helps with that. And it really is engaging with the customer ongoing. You don't have a product to show, I said. So we did do hard hat tours. And so you have to try to envision what it's going to look like. But if you don't have that product, they've got to feel good while they're there. They've got to have fun while they're there. They've got to envision living there. And so you just really have to it takes time to engage. And it's not just that one conversation. So they walk away. There is no sense of urgency because we're telling these prospects that they can move in 2 months or 12 weeks or whatever. And so there's a lot more effort that needs to go into that customer experience. And so it doesn't end when they walk away because they've not made their buying decision. So we continue to engage. We would call them, we would email them, we would send them photos of the progress of their apartment. We would send them videos. We would go to the apartment and have a conversation with them, a video call, and show them what's transpired. It's kind of like, in comparing it to someone who's looking for a new house and they're building a new house, like they visit that site, every day, every week, every weekend. They wait till everybody leaves and they come and they walk the floor plan. I lived on site and you would not believe how many people would show up at night and they just wanted to see it. It didn't matter if it was ready. It didn't matter. So just having that engagement with them ongoing is huge for Lisa.
Yeah. It's so funny you talk about that, like that just wanting to feel it. And I think that you touched on something. I took a couple notes when you were writing. You're making me really get my wheels turning there. And I'm thinking, specifically with this particular group now, right? So these Gen Zers, like what makes them feel good about it, right? Like what has them feeling like this is an experience, especially like when you're talking about you don't have units available, right? So how do you connect with them? I read some stuff, like I said, in a couple different articles recently that talk about authenticity. The word authenticity, and you used it too, keeps coming up for Gen Z. And I'm just curious, maybe with a show of hands, students, does that word resonate with you guys? Like maybe a show of hands, does the word authenticity resonate with you or not? Yeah, a little. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I do. Yeah. Okay. I see. So it looks like most people, it does. So I think that's really interesting. Okay. So, and I'm going off script a little bit here. Not that we have like a hard script on these podcasts, but Jodi, when you were saying, you were also talking about like in that, when you first engage with people too, I'm so curious from the student's perspective about one element of the traditional interaction that we've had in our business, and I think in many businesses, that we train and we, really reinforce as something that's really, really critical. But I'm curious to know from your students' perspective, if they still think it's critical or if they feel like it makes them more comfortable maybe or less comfortable, is the shaking hands. What do you guys think?
I'll go off of that. It's not that shaking hands is like a bad thing. It's the right amount of force and the right way to actually shake a hand. you don't get taught that in school. I don't get taught that by anybody else like around me. So it's if I shake someone's hand and my hand's sweaty, do they notice that? If I shake someone's hand and I like squeeze it too hard, do they notice that? If I don't shake someone's hand at all, do they notice that? Like I don't know at some point when I should disengage a handshake, when I should stop. Like I don't know at one point what does it not get awkward about it.
That's an awesome point. Yeah, and you're most definitely not alone in wondering and thinking all of those exact same things. It's interesting because like so if you walk in to a a place like you're looking for an apartment or whatever and someone puts their hand out to you to shake it, does that make you feel more comfortable or less comfortable?
I always shake someone's hand, but it doesn't. I feel like it still makes me less comfortable because I don't
Okay.
know how to shake their hand personally.
Okay. Gotcha.
Everybody's-
What about anyone else? What do you guys, does anyone else feel like it's a little bit awkward to have to shake someone's hand? No, I got one guy saying, no, I don't think it's awkward.
I would say it kind of helps start a conversation. I think it makes it less awkward
Okay.
just because you can kind of go from the handshake, I guess.
Yeah. So you like, cause you kind of create that physical connection like a little bit with
Yeah.
somebody. So maybe it can bring down barriers. So while it puts up barriers, but also can bring them down. Okay. Well, I think that's interesting. Like, I almost feel like I'd love to do a round table on just that topic, and even like, I'm sorry, what was your student's name right behind you, Jodi, who shared with us? Austin. Thanks, Austin, for sharing. I appreciate that. But I mean, I think that's a really good whole discussion point, right? Where you just do a round table talking about here's how to do it, here's why we do it, and engaging with just different generations about how it, can make us feel. Okay. So anybody else on handshakes? Okay. So I guess one of the other questions that, I think about with respect to that customer experience, Jodi, you brought up a really good point about how customer service is just one piece of the customer experience. The customer experience really is the cumulative impact, right, of all of those interactions along that customer life cycle. So I'm curious in terms of face-to-face interaction or even interaction with technology, whether that's a bot or a TikTok shop or a leasing bot online or, in a retail center at Starbucks, wherever. Does anyone have an example of maybe a time where the customer service piece really stood out as really, really good or really, really bad that they would share with us from your Gen Z perspective?
Sure.
Yeah, any experience at all cut from a customer. You're the customer.
Okay, so my name's Elon, and over the summer, me, my mom, my brother, we moved to a different home, and a big part of that was because our rent got boosted up, and it was like there's no point to paying it for what we were getting. So my mom found a really good spot, and the person that she bought it off of or was rented off of was super nice, knew the area like really well, was always texting my mom like multiple times a day and like really building a really nice connection, almost like a friendly, like not just in the sense of like, oh, I want your money, it's more like I actually kind of like you, like not just like, oh, when are you gonna rent, but it's like, oh, how's your day going? Are you thinking about moving in and this and that and like checking in and whatnot, just like going above and beyond just to it felt really nice to be like knowing that moving's not to be an issue because the person like make it very easy for us to make the decision to move.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Thank you. That's it. And I think that it seems like that kind of even goes back to what, we were saying about that connection, right? That human connection, feeling like you're not a transaction. This is a person to person connection, and you feel better knowing that whoever you're engaging with as a customer cares about you as a person, not just the transaction. And I thought it was also interesting how you started off by saying, we moved because they jacked up the rent, right? So they're wanting you to pay a lot more for basically the same thing without giving you any sense of why, right? Like, did they, and obviously from a customer perspective, you couldn't see any value as to why. It's like, you're just raising my rent. You're not doing anything else for me. Why would I do that? And I'm going to go now with these people who are really friendly and nice and welcoming. And that makes it feel a lot better. Jodi, does that, like, what does that spark in your mindset in terms of experiences, and how that, does it seem different or the same as what you're used to from your Gen X perspective?
No, I think it really boils down to making it a memorable experience as much as anything, and just making them feel comfortable. I mean, Elon's example, one of the biggest stressors, I think top 3 ever, is moving. So you are so stressed out about it. There's so much going on. There's so many decisions to be made. And once you determine that I'm not paying that higher rent, you've got to find a mover. You've got to find a new place to live. So putting your mind at ease, putting that customer's mind at ease, and making them feel comfortable is so critical.
So that seems to me like it's kind of consistent with, what we've been thinking and doing all along. It kind of come back to that personal human connection, that it's not transactional. It is personal. It's human. Like, we're all connecting at the most fundamental piece of ourselves by doing that. Yeah. Anyone else? I'm so curious. Anyone else? Thanks for sharing that, Elin. Anyone else have an example of a great experience or maybe a terrible one? I know you guys are out there buying stuff, making moves.
Yes, I can share.
Go ahead.
So I just signed a lease for an apartment for next year, starting in August. And I ended up signing a lease there, even though the experience for me was rather stressful. So when I went into the office, I did my tour and we're talking about pricing and stuff. They told me that the prices would go up on Monday, and it was Tuesday. So I was told as long as I signed the lease by Thursday, the leasing manager would be in the office on Friday and she could write up a lease for us. And if I, apply, she can write up that lease or whatever. So I ended up applying and I have my thing in by Friday, and the leasing person sends me my lease and they call me, and I actually ended up, it's just really confusing because I spun this wheel and I ended up getting $20 off my rent each month. So I got a lower price, but I was told that price would be locked in until Monday before the prices go up, right? And then when I get this call and they say I need to sign my lease by 5 that day in order to lock in that price. So I end up signing my lease, and my roommate, she doesn't even get a lease sent out to her. So we go in on Saturday to the apartment complex, and they say the leasing manager is working remotely and she'll send her that lease in or whatever. And we don't get a lease that day. And we go in on Sunday and the leasing manager's not there again. And then we don't get a lease until Monday, and we thought the rent was going to be higher. And then they say, no, we'll keep the price the same for you. And I just feel like that was it just really stressed me out because I've never really even signed a lease. So the fact that they were very, confusing on the pricing just really stressed me out because it was going to be like a $60 increase. And they were just not telling us what was happening. And the leasing manager was never there to even talk to us in person. And she was supposed to be working remotely, and it didn't even seem like she was doing that because the two people at the front desk were there, but they were calling her and she was just not picking up the phone. And I was just wondering, what is she doing? She can just send out the lease and, have it done really quick, because they said it would only take her 30 minutes to write up this lease. So I'm wondering, why is she not there? Why is all this happening? It just was very confusing for me.
Yeah. Well, it sounds kind of confusing, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. And it does, so that really resonates with the fact that, especially new renters or new customers, right? They just having an understanding of the process itself can give you that peace of mind, right? So they're telling you the price is going to be one thing when you got to hurry up and do it by this time. And then you've got the discount, but like, how does that play with the first price? So it sounds like, yeah, the communication you were getting was not necessarily systematic or consistent, right? And then at the end, they're telling you, well, we'll hold the price for you, even though you didn't meet the deadline that we originally discussed, which now seems maybe like, so was that true that you told me that it was going to go up on Monday, or wasn't it true? And so there's like, it seems like the trust really wasn't created there. So, and you can't have any relationships, any, real relationships without trust. So it sounds like lack of properly communicating and laying out that process and communicating properly sort of prevented them from creating trust with you as a customer. And so you did it, right? You still bought, quote unquote, signed the lease, but you're not that happy about it. So from the day one that you move in, you're already kind of less than satisfied. So they're going to be having to work even harder from the very beginning of that to turn that around, to get you back happy with that situation, but they won't even know. Did you leave a review or anything and tell them that you were displeased?
I did. When I was there, I was just kind of, I wasn't very happy. What made it really stressful for me is that I had to sign my lease that Friday, and my roommate, she didn't get her lease till Monday. So it's like, if she doesn't get the right pricing and she backs out, then I'm kind of, screwed over because I already have my lease signed. So it's just like not positive, but I, haven't really been there that much yet. So maybe it's just this one manager's like having some issues that weekend because I work retail. So I'm trying to be kind of nice about it, but it's just like, yeah, I'm not very happy about it, but it's what it is.
Can't say something too.
Please.
So I also kind of had like the same problem. So I did the PSU campus rentals. So there's like I have 5 roommates and they all signed their lease, and I was getting text messages saying, if you don't sign the lease, you guys are gonna lose the house. And I was like very confused on that because I already paid some of it. I didn't sign the full lease, but I already paid like $135 for my name to be down. And they're like, I was getting text messages saying, hey, you got to get this done. You have an hour or you're going to lose it. And I was like, this is kind of ridiculous. Like 5 other people already signed it. And like, you guys gave us 2 days notice. Like, like my dad's working. Like, I was literally like stressing out. I was like, hey, Mom, can you please put $250 in my account so I can do this? And then afterwards, you're like, thank you. Now you're good. I was like, this is a load of crap. Like this makes no sense. Like, why do I get 2 days to do this? And it's like, God forbid I go a day over. Like, how does that make any sense? I feel like
Right.
they push it so hard that like you just have like no choice but to just kind of do it. They like fear you, and they're like, if you don't do it, you're gonna lose it. Which my dad was trying to tell me was like, that's not true at all. And I was like, well, I don't know. I'm getting these text messages.
Right. So the trust. And so you feel like bullied into it. Sounds like you were feeling kind of like bullied by them from the very beginning. And being bullied doesn't set you up for a great relationship.
Cool.
Feeling
People
you're being
cool.
harassed or whatever.
Cool.
It's cool, not cool. Okay, so that's really great though, information, but particularly for you guys in this business, like to see how communication of that process, right? Each step of the process is really critical to helping to drive a good customer experience. I actually used to do a whole segment on customer expectations management, because a lot of times, you have in your mind, here's how this is going to go. And if it goes that way, you feel like it was good. And if it doesn't go that way, you feel like it was bad. But where did you get this idea of how it was going to go in the first place, right? And if you've never done whatever it is before, maybe it's rent an apartment. If you've never rented an apartment before, maybe you don't know how that process typically goes. And so it's important that the person on the other side recognize that the customer may have never rented an apartment before, or B, recognize that different companies do things differently. And so it's important that that leasing person or manager take the time to lay out exactly, here's what this whole process is going to look like. And then it's one thing to lay it out, right? But it's another thing to execute in accordance with the system or the process that you put out there as well. And recognizing that each one of those spots along the line, if you don't do it, you're going to diminish trust or erode trust, if you will. Interesting. Yes. It's always, you notice what else, guys? I feel like it's always easier to come up with customer service situations that were bad, right? Than ones that were good. What else? Does anyone else have one? Does anyone else have a bad customer service situation that they encountered? A good one? It's like crickets. Crickets. Okay. Let me ask you guys this. How many of you have purchased something from the TikTok shop in the last 2 weeks? Anyone? Jodi, can you see? Did anyone raise their hand? No?
I don't think so. I mean, this is a
Okay.
smaller group, but they're not.
No? Okay. So let me ask this question. What retail transaction have any of you guys had in the last 2 weeks? Maybe like go around the room. Like, yeah, I see Elin back there.
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay. And why did you shop at Amazon?
A lot of the time, compared to other companies, they have better prices. I have Amazon Prime, so I'll get it within a day a lot of the time. So it's better for me. My family can order me things. We're connected through it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Who's this right behind Elin there?
Yep.
Have you bought anything in the last 2 weeks?
Groceries.
Okay. Where'd you go?
Payless.
So why'd you go to Payless?
Because my mom has a credit card and it saves me money.
Okay. Fair enough. Perfect. Okay. Who else? I know everyone's has done a transaction. Just give it to me, guys.
And like with TikTok shop, I just don't trust it. I don't think that I'll actually get it. So I'm too scared to order.
Fair. That's interesting. Okay. So Amazon is coming off as a more trusted retailer. And you know what? It's funny, you guys, I'll just share with you quickly. I just purchased something from TikTok shop for the very first time, like this week, actually. And it did come, but I was sort of nervous after I did it. Like, can I just give all my information to like some scammer bot or what? There again, I'm older, so maybe I'm cynical that way, but I liked seeing that you guys think that too. Who else? Who else has made a retail transaction in the last 2 weeks? I know you all have, so give it to me.
Go ahead.
I started some Christmas shopping on Etsy. And so the thing that's frustrating about it is that you have to pay for shipping from each individual seller. So that starts to add up. But I haven't gotten it yet, so I'm not sure I'll be satisfied. But I've gotten emails and updates on the process of the order. So hoping I like it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. So, quick question. So, why did you go to Etsy instead of like Amazon?
Because I had a gift card.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. I love it. All right. Who else? Go ahead.
I went to Target this past week and I just bought the Pillsbury Christmas cookies because I mean it's Christmas now.
I love it. Why'd you go to Target instead of Payless, for example?
Yeah, literally. Because I like strolling Target. I feel like it's just one of those things that I can spend hours in for fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. It's kind of like, yeah, I mean, I do the same thing, but that's interesting. So you went to Target, got the cookies. You could have gone someplace else, but Target has all those kind of nice, fun things to stroll. Okay. Thank you. There's other people in there. Jodi, get those people to give me an info. There's one.
I ordered some Christmas decorations off Amazon in my dorm, and I chose Amazon because I like how fast deliveries usually are. Like I usually don't have to wait more than a week to get what I need, and it like tells you when you're supposed to expect your package like before you purchase it. So yeah, that's why I like it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. again, and it keeps you, that's interesting. Like, so you pointed out that Amazon, like they keep you very informed at every step of the process, right? So they tell you, here's when it's going to be there. Oh, look, it's shipped. Okay, look, it's out for delivery. Nope, never mind. It's, it's going to be a little later, but they keep you informed. And that seems to kind of ease your mind. Is there anyone else, Jodi? I can't see the rest of your class.
Give an example.
Yeah.
I have to mention that my birthday's Monday. And
he accepts Amazon gifts.
I buy myself gifts like 3 to 4 weeks before and 3 to 4 weeks after. And the most, no, I don't. But I most recently bought 2 bottles of cologne off of fragrance.net, I think it is. It's a discount, website, and they send you these emails with offers. And I bought cologne there before, but the kind I wanted to buy is rather expensive. And I'm like, there's kind of this notion that is it the same quality because you're not paying that price that maybe you get at Macy's or some of the department stores. Got the cologne. It was a horrible experience. One of the bottles was broken. The other bottle, the cologne didn't stay on me for like 20 seconds, let alone all day. So I called and returned the bottle, and I ended up buying the exact same cologne for more from Macy's. But it's just a good example of sometimes you get what you pay for. So you've got to, you're looking for that bargain, but they've got to deliver. Just because it's less expensive doesn't mean, I deserve a bottle of broken cologne. And that maybe it wasn't their fault. Maybe it was in shipping, but Macy's delivered. The cologne smells good, and I will now buy my cologne from Macy's, all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great example. Yeah. So because they followed through on what the expectation was. I feel like there's a trend coming in through all of this. Yeah.
I'll go to what Jodi said. That's like a big reason why my dad never buys anything online. Is because things like that, things break or things don't turn out to fit you, or maybe it's not as high quality as it looks like on the website and things of that nature. And I'm kind of the same way because I lost my ID, so I tried to get a new one, and I had to do it again because it didn't ship. So I didn't have a driver's license, and my paper one expired. So that was just a total pain because the shipping company messed up. I put the right address and everything. 15 days is way past the limit, and I still didn't get it. So it's you just went through all that hassle, and now you still don't have it. Just because it's unfortunate, dumb luck of that nature.
Right. So did you have to go to the BMV to get it? So you had to go in person now.
Yeah, I had to go in and show my paper ID and say, hey, I didn't get an ID. Can you resend it?
Yeah.
And also the DMV sucks too.
Most of us sit in the car and we're like, do I have to go in there? Do I really have to go in there?
Oh, I know. Okay, wait. And then on that note, can I just say, then have you noticed at the DMV, they have these little, because they're trying to drive their customer experience, and they have these little buttons right here. How did I do today? Good or bad or whatever. And it's they're staring right at you while you're pushing the button. You feel they bully you into. Yeah.
It's the tip at Starbucks, flip it.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. You did your job. You know what's a tip.
So there's been some really good conversation. Did we get everyone, Jodi? Did everybody share?
I think everybody engaged for sure.
I love it. I love it. I feel like you guys really shared some really great insights for our listeners about things that, Gen Z really appreciates from a customer experience perspective, and on the flip side, doesn't really appreciate. So I feel like we got some great info for our listeners, and I am so thankful for you guys taking the time out of your day to do this. And I know it wasn't all that comfortable for all of you, so thank you very much. And I'd love to circle back with you guys because I have a feeling our listeners are going to some of your content and thoughts is really going to spur some further thought and discussion for our listeners. So I'm sure we'd love to circle back. and maybe even narrow down the topic and hear from you guys again. You guys up? Would you guys be up for that?
Absolutely.
It's an easy.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much. And Jodi, did you have any final thoughts on this space before we sign out?
No, I think you've done a great job leading the conversation and bringing up some valid points, and some of the student engagement was amazing. So I think we're good.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much. So with that, I'm going to tune out for this episode of CX Unplugged. I hope you'll join us next time on our next episode of CX Unplugged by the Multifamily Media Network. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, Gabrielle.
CX Unplugged, where we have redefined who your customer really is. Join me next time to hear more missteps and masterful manifestations in the world of multifamily customer experience. Brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network.